With Logos, we have the ability to store our information digitally so that we can search for it and call it up at any point. Because of this, Logos is a powerful resource for everything from prayer requests to note-taking. Today we will learn how Logos saves information, explore the features of notes in Logos. We will also do a basic search showing how we can search for our notes in Logos. To start, I want to explain why Logos needs the internet. Once you've indexed Logos, Logos will save your information and it will save it up to the cloud. When signed into Logos and it connects to the internet, you see this little circle here. If you click on it, you can sync Logos. Now, I haven't done anything since the last time it synced, and so it's not syncing anything. But Logos will actually sync all of your documents, where I've got my notes, my clippings, a prayer list, a reading plan. It will sync all of this up to the cloud. That means if my computer ever crashes completely, I won't lose any of this data that I have. Logos saves it and backs it up elsewhere. It's the same with our layouts. They're backed up as well. So with that in mind, we can actually save this stuff long term and then sync it later. And we can look at things. I have notes from my first few weeks at Moody that I can actually look at now and see what I learned in a class or what I was searching for, what I was studying at the time. So now we're going to look at the notes feature itself. I'm going to start by clicking Close All. Then I'm going to click on Documents, Notes. So an untitled note tab pops up. I'm going to call this Pre-Understandings in Genesis 1 and 2, and then hit Enter. Now after I save it and give it a name, if I close it, I can click on Documents, and under Notes, it shows up, it's the most recent note, and so it shows up here. If you want to delete it, you can right-click it. I'm not going to delete it right now, but if you click it again, a normal click, it'll pop back up. Now if you're in etc., if you click on Type, you can sort by those. You can also just sort by the date for the most recent things you worked on. I like Type. I think it's cleaner. It also automatically sorts them by date as well. So I'm going to jump back into Notes. So with the Note tool, I can do basic notes by clicking Add Note. Now I can make whatever note I want. Test note. And if I click anywhere in here or anywhere outside of the text bar, it'll go away. And if I click back in, I can add information. I can also highlight words if I want, just the way you do in a normal browser. I can change different things. You have all kinds of options here. You can change the color. You can highlight things. You can do all kinds of stuff with this. But the thing is that this right here isn't much different than a word processor. So I want to show you what makes the note tool in Logos really special. So I'm going to delete this note. There's a drop-down menu on the right. If you click that arrow, click Delete Note. Now I'm going to open my ESV Bible. And what I'm going to show you is how we can actually link a note to a Bible verse. So I'm in the ESV, Genesis 1, and I was reading it the other day, and I was thinking about how in Genesis 1:2 it says the earth was without form and void, but then it says the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. And when I hear void, I think nothing, and so I'm wondering, how is there water if there's nothing? And so that's a pre-understanding I have, and so I can do a couple things to make a note. I can click and highlight all of it, or I can click on a single word, and when I do that, right now it's selected a reference. I could make my note on waters. I could make it on the waters. I could make it on the Hebrew word, that's mayim, or I could do the manuscript, the lemma, the root. I could do all of these different things. For now, I'm going to just choose the reference, so it gets the whole verse. And then, if I click add a note to pre-understandings, Genesis 1 and 2. Now I have a note over here, and I can ask, what does it mean that the earth was void if the waters were there? Now if I click off, now I've got that note there. And you see this little note icon here now shows up at the start of verse 2. And it even, if I hover over it, it tells me where that note is from. And if I click on it, it even goes to it. And so now I have a note there. But I don't just have a note in the ESV, because this is tagged to Genesis 1:2. It's not tagged to the ESV Genesis 1:2. So if I open NIV, hit enter, my NIV Bible will have that same note. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's an ooh-ah moment. And there's more to this, because I can also, let's say I want to take the notes, but while I'm reading I don't want to do it. There's an option called visual filters, and we'll look at this a lot more extensively later. But a simple thing you can do is, if you click on it, you can choose notes and highlights, and then here I've got pre-understandings in Genesis 1 and 2. If I click off that, the note disappears, but it doesn't delete the note. My note stays there. I can click it to turn it back on. You can also, if you don't want to scroll down, if I type in pre-understandings up in the little search bar, it'll open it up, so that's pretty cool as well. But there's something even more we can do with this. I talked about the ability to search for this stuff and call it back up. I'm going to quickly click on sync there, and you'll notice it went from dark gray to now it's a light gray. When it's dark gray, it means there's something to sync. So now I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass, and we're actually going to search for this note. So I open search up. Today we're going to do a basic search, and we're going to search everything. Now you can search a lot of different options. You can make your own collections, you can search open resources, you can search just your documents, which would be another way to do this. You can search, there's all kinds of searches, and we will spend a lot of time in there, I promise, but for today we're doing an everything search. Now if I type in Genesis 1, 2, and hit enter, first thing it's going to show me, I see under your books right here is the workbook that we've just loaded in an earlier video, and you see now I type in Genesis 1, 2, and so that's the exact thing I just did. Now you'll see your documents doesn't have anything there, and that's because it hasn't finished syncing. But I clicked it again, and now it's finished syncing, and now that I've done that, if I look under your documents, now my note is there. And not just my note, it tells me you had a note here, and the note you had was, what does it mean that the earth was void if the waters were there? So that question connected to that verse, unless I go in and delete that note, will always be in my Logos. And so someday maybe I will find a better question, maybe come up with somewhat of an answer, and if I do, I could click on it and I could add that in. Or if I never find the answer, that'll just always be a question I have there, and if I ever look at it again, I can see it. The Notes tool in Logos is a powerful tool, but requires us to use it regularly to take advantage of it. As we keep working in Logos, begin setting up practices that you can use long-term to take full advantage of what Logos has to offer.